Even though nobody asked, we delivered. Welcome to the Even Nobody Asked podcast. We have 3 white guys on the docket and 1 black guy. So very similar to Ludwig. We have a bunch of white people here, but don't worry, dissimilar to him, we do have a black guy. That's me. However, no women, so kind of back to similar to Ludwig. And we're going to get into that a little bit. But right now, who the heck are we? Well, I'm a speedrunner. My name is Nestani. I do a little bit of speedrunning every now and then. I run Lunistus, Frights, fucking Fire Emblem, things of that nature. I stream, make content, yada, yada. Cole, introduce yourself.
Hello, my name is Coley_02, and I am also a speedrunner on a temporary hiatus that will probably...
Perpetual?
I don't know.
See you in a couple weeks.
And that's yeah. I'm known for having terrible internet and also being out of the loop on things, and that's kind of me with this topic we're about to discuss today. But that's about it for my intro, I suppose.
Okay. My name is DECosmic, and I'm a speedrunner as well. I do speedruns of action games and obscure PS2 games. I also do stuff on YouTube, and I shitpost on Twitter a bunch with title cards that I make on Canva and such. It's a good time. I also work in finance as a day job. So, yeah, over to you, Jax.
Hell yeah. I'm Jaxler. I also run weird stuff that no one's ever heard of before. I tend to specialize in 3D platformer stuff and mascot platformers. So, like, weird licensed stuff like the SpongeBob platformers. Just... weird game. I know it or know someone who does, so that's just kind of my whole thing. So basically Cosmic, but with platformers and unemployed. So, yippee!
Unemployed, really cool.
You hate to see it.
Yeah.
You hate to see it.
So, yeah, to give a brief overview, we are all in the speedrunning space, so
Or have
probably
been in at
a
one
good,
point.
True. Probably a good handful of these podcasts moving forward are going to be at least speedrun adjacent. For today's episode, we do have a totally speedrun topic, though, to kick things off, which is that the Fast 50 event is now over, the Ludwig speedrunning event.
The all white people
I think
event.
we'll just... Hey, man.
I'm not surprised about that. But...
Yeah, so
You can't
I'll
keep
just
getting
pass it
away with
over to
this.
Nestani
Yeah,
first so
just
we can get
go
started.
ahead.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's the brief overview. All right, let me take you through the beautiful day that was twitter.com. So Ludwig tweets out just randomly. He's like, yo, I want to do a speedrunning event. Does any speedrunners want to be a part of my event? And he tweets it out, and then everyone goes fucking insane, right? Because they're like, oh my God, Ludwig. Big number equals they want to do it, right? It's just natural. So everyone replies. And when I say everyone, I mean everyone besides me and Jax. And I don't...
No, I replied to it.
Oh, Jax,
but
everyone besides me
I did
replied
reply
to
to
it.
it.
Dang.
Did you reply to it?
You,
I replied to it, yeah.
yeah,
I
we
don't
all
expect
replied.
anything.
Me.
I mean,
Cole
for me, it
did
was
not.
like
No,
a
Cole did
shoot
not.
your
Cole did
shot
not.
type
I don't
moment,
say
right?
shit on Twitter.
Well, Cole did
Yeah.
on Twitter, Cole. Context.
Yeah,
Cole,
I don't
Bro does
know.
not tweet. Bro is
No,
unaware.
I don't know.
He's not here. He doesn't know.
Yeah.
But okay,
Yep.
that's interesting. I thought it was just
You did a meme reply though, right, Estoni? Or am
no,
I...
not on the main
smoking
tweet.
crack?
So this is like I'm talking about
Not
like
on
the
the
main
tweet,
initial
no,
tweet
yeah.
of any speedrunners interested, right?
The meme tweet was...
yeah,
His meme
everyone
tweet
in the
reply was
world
sort of
responded to
follow-up.
that, besides me, which is funny because how the roles are going to switch in a second. So moving forward, then I think like a week or so later, maybe 2 weeks later, Ludwig comes out and he releases the best trailer of all time. No information missing at all. Very well executed. So he launches this trailer, and this trailer basically lists a bunch of white guys and Liam. Shouts to Liam.
And for those who don't know, Liam is a top level Mario 64
Yeah.
runner.
Yeah.
And the
Who's
general consensus
not white,
of
but, you
this
know.
list is everyone is a big content creator and or like speedrunning adjacent content creators. Think people like Point Crow, Simply, fucking Wartool, like you get the idea.
Alpha Rad,
yeah. I don't watch Alpha Rad, so I didn't mention him. But
I just
Damn.
know the name.
yeah,
Yeah.
Just think of those like kind of big people where like they do have speedrunning roots or they have speedrun, whatever. And so everyone got in a real big tizzy over this, mainly because all white people, and that is
man.
Like when I say that everyone got in a tizzy, I mean it was like bad. Like everyone was flaming him for literal days. He had to make 2 videos defending himself on the topic on Mobile Mail. And I guess I'll just open the floor to the drama, to any initial reactions. Like, what did you all think? Were you on board with the drama? Were you not on board with the drama? Where
so it was a fucking... I'll just start by saying it was a fucking optics disaster. I think we can all kind of come to the agreement that like it was a very rushed, like spur of the moment thing. Yeah. Which I think you could argue is something that Ludwig tends to be known for. Like if he wants to do a thing, he'll just go do it right now. And if that's gonna be your first speedrunning event, then that's like you're gonna like there's a like you'll hit the potholes really really fucking hard. Yeah, and that's true. Kind of the impression of I got of kind of like the initial blast radius. And there are some fair criticisms and then some unfair criticisms, which Nestani would love to go on and on and on about. But I'll just start by saying that
there's the re-hee-hee-hee-hee, by the way.
The first promotional image showing that first like batch of confirmed like runners and attendees and what have you. The fact that there were no women on it and there was like this sort of and more button being held up, and like Sisyphus holding up the rock, like that's bad. That just sucks. It's like, come on, like that just sucks, right? And arguably same thing as well with all white dudes for the most part, right?
Leo.
So now that's Leo. So it was an optics nightmare, and then you also had before Ludwig made those 2 videos, defending himself and explaining himself a bit. He would
really
try to reply
to
the event exactly, and actually describing what he was doing
the job that the trailer should have done.
Yeah, because the trailer did not explain any. By the way, just to briefly pause, Jax, the trailer, when we say it did not explain anything, it did not explain anything. Like the only like game that was like Tetris was mentioned in the trailer, and then outside of that, it was just like this loose like.
Tetris wasn't even in the marathon.
Event. Like, what is it? Is it pace? Is it like pace? Is it like GDQ?
Is it like GDQ?
Is it something completely new? Like, is everyone running Tetris? Because you mentioned Tetris by name. Like, what the fuck is going on? No one knew. Go ahead.
Right. So, in addition to this whole optics nightmare, it was a bit rough for a little bit until and we'll get into how the situation transitioned later on. But you'd have like Ludwig reply to people on Twitter trying to have a conversation. And the moment he replied to someone, like 30 bajillion Twitter drones of not even just Ludwig's, but like of all kinds of just the worst of people who use Twitter, right? I think somehow Technical's audience got, if you don't know who Technical's is, good, don't worry about it. But if you know who that is, you'll know that if, he is somehow involved in the discussion somehow, he might as well just get off Twitter because you are going to get death threats. You're going to get the worst of the fucking worst. So that wasn't great, and it was annoying to see that sort of pattern of behavior happen to some people in our community. Now, to be fair, like we'll mention later, not every criticism was necessarily maybe the most well thought out, or maybe some of it was grounded in emotional reaction. But that being said, people got fucking harassed and death threats, and people had to like private delete their fucking Twitter. It was annoying.
Yeah.
It was really annoying. So I'll leave it there and I'll let someone piggyback.
Yeah. Cole, if you want to have anything you want to say at first.
So everything that Jax just said is the reason why I don't go on Twitter.
Yeah, that's fair.
And that's pretty much it. I was completely out of the blue for everything. And I ended up waiting until just getting in a call with you guys and talking about it. And I was like, oh, okay. And then it just kind of continued and happened. I'm more so interested because I know, I guess, very little of the details of the drama, but I watched the event. And I'm going to save my thoughts on that until we actually talk about like the actual event itself. But otherwise, in terms of the drama, I'm genuinely not surprised. Dude, I do gotta just say, just to backtrack for a second on the trailer, I saw 5 seconds of that because I was just scrolling on it through Twitter. Yeah, it looked like it was like a meme video, or like I swear there was like a newsreel portion. I don't remember. I was like, what?
Yeah.
What is this, bro? I was like,
Yeah,
what is this? What are we doing here? What are we talking about?
It was not good.
Yeah.
No. Yeah, so I'm kind of 50-50 on the whole thing. I think generally speaking, it did just kind of look lame to see, like, you know, internet celebrity does speedrunning event with other internet celebrities. It's unsurprising, right, that he does that for the first event. And I have no reason really to believe that he did like the tweet for engagement bait or anything. He just wanted to do an event and then threw a tweet out there and was like, all right, let's do some stuff. You know, and he did it with his friends, but I think we can all kind of agree that Ludwig probably didn't understand that, like, speedrunning events are largely meritocracies. So when you have an event that kind of just pops up and is like really short notice, kind of hastily thrown together, and it's just you and the buds, it looks a little strange from the outside, you know. But,
or rather from the context of the speedrunning community.
Yeah, from the context of the speedrunning community. But I would probably be a lot more critical of him if he didn't come out with those videos and explain, like, it took him a while in the videos to say this, but he said, you know, I fucked up. I understand that, you know, this looks pretty bad. And you know, later on, I'm going to also mention his closing thoughts on the, on the event as well, which is like, you know, I will say that I kind of walked away from this, not necessarily excited about the next event, but very much kind of like, all right, this was pretty, there's probably something decent here in the future. But it was very strange how everything just sort of like catapulted forward with, like, starting with that tweet and then going straight into the event, like, you know, a week or two later after all that drama just sort of happened. And it was really just sort of like this rush, right? This just like wave of drama that happened, and then the event just happens, and it's like, whoa, you know, it's kind of like Whiplash, you know, a little bit. Yeah,
Just Whiplash.
It was
the game.
Just Whiplash. Yeah.
True.
Good game. Yeah.
People have been saying this.
Yeah. You should check out Jax's run of Whiplash from last GDQ.
Hashtag ad. Hashtag
Yeah,
sponsored.
if you if you want to,
Hashtag sponsored. Yeah.
hell yeah! If you want to lose brain cells, go check that video out.
It was a
after
great
you're
run.
done listening to
So-
this episode of the podcast.
Jack
After
paid
you're
us
done
to say
with
that.
this. Yeah, absolutely. But I will say, like, I kind of give the guy a little bit of leeway because he has shown himself to, you know, not be above criticism, and he has shown himself before to be a dude with pretty decent views. So he knew he messed up, and I think that he's going to learn from this, and I think that's a good thing. So
Yeah. And now, to give some more
all right, well,
context.
see y'all later.
All right, I'm moving up Mario Tennis
To
GBA.
give some more context here, I want to go back to something Cosmic said where he was talking about how the initial list was basically just Ludwig and a bunch of his friends. And I just want to say that is not totally true.
It's not totally true,
Because
no.
Ludwig
It's mostly
basically
true.
fielded
Yeah,
this
yeah.
tweet that says, hey, does any speedrunners want to join? And basically, if you're wondering the background behind this, is that when the speedrun community saw that tweet, they thought that he was talking to them.
Yeah.
I'm a firm believer, and I've seen a lot of Ludwig's tweets and events in the past. This was a tweet for popular speedrun creators that he might not know. Right, like he knows Point Crow, he knows Orchel, he knows like Liam and Simply and them, but like some of these other creators, like I don't know how well he knows Alpha Red, for example. I've never seen them do anything together. I don't know if he knows that.
I'm
Red's-
pretty sure they have.
Yeah, I'm just using an example because I don't have the whole list, right? But they're
Right.
like some of those creators, like he probably didn't really know who they were or what they were about, and so that tweet was mainly for them, in my opinion. And the whole thing got in a tizzy.
Before you go on, though,
Go ahead.
I will say that he did bill this thing as him doing something cool with his friends. He did say that in tweets, and he did say that in the videos.
Yeah.
Even though, like, my statement is not totally correct about it it just being like him and his buds, it is, like I said, too.
And I was about to build on that, too.
Internet celebrity with other internet celebrities. And it was billed as like, by him as something fun to do with his friends.
Yeah, so. Which is going to break down near the end. And we'll talk about that in a second because I have a take about that, about the event itself. But so that's why the drama really starts, because that tweet basically baits people into thinking he's talking to them. And he clearly wasn't really, but he did pull people from that tweet later on. But the thing is that, like, I'm going to consolidate this a lot. And basically everyone was tearing him down because of the whole white guy thing. It was only white guys, right? And if you're wondering why the speedrun community tore him down for that, it's because GDQ makes a very broad and like not broad, I guess, like makes a very concerted effort or whatever to include like a bunch of genders, a bunch of like races and sexualities, things like that. They do things to be inclusive intentionally. And the thing with Lud's event, which is the controversial part here, is that, like, when you're starting an event, you don't really get the luxury of doing the diversity stuff, whether you like to admit it or not. And this is coming from me, right? You do have to, like, hit the most popular things to get your stuff up and running, and then you can bring that in afterwards, right? It's kind of like here's the initial leap. Now let's, like, bring all this cool shit. Let's bring in some lesser known games. Let's bring in, other things. But here's the thing is that, like, the initial tweet itself, right, was just, here's an event. You see the list. It's white guys. It's a lot of his friends. And his first video, the way he bills it is like, we're fundraising a charity event. It's me and my buds. We're fundraising a charity event, right? Which in and of itself is fine. Like, even if the event shipped as was, there was no other runners, I think it was fine. Like, even if it was literally fucking 18 white guys in a room and Liam, I think it would have been fine, because at that point, it's just a normal charity event. Like, it's just like a normal stream. It's a normal charity event, similar to like the thing Jaxcepticeye runs, this things that like the roomies run, right? Where they're just like doing challenges or whatever to raise money for charity. However, they're just using speedrunning as like the content piece, right? But everyone lit him up for that. And I think, me personally, I think a lot of this comes down to people just being jealous and / people really wanting the opportunity to do this. Because the thing is that Ludwig is fucking Ludwig. He's a giant, right? And so being able to run in his event is... It has the potential to be a life-altering opportunity in the way that something like GDQ really isn't anymore. I think GDQ used to have that kind of vibe back in the day. I feel like it's a bit too big for its britches now to have that kind of like individual grasp on individual people. Sometimes you have to be Jaxler and get a world record, and then and then even then, I still stream till like exactly
the same app.
And it's just like you have to have like Jax had the perfect storm, and he didn't like completely pop, right? And so Ludwig brings a different audience, which I think that audience is more likely to latch on to people that they think is funny, right? Because they watch content creators, they don't watch speedrunning, which is like, and I think that's the main reason why everyone was so mad, because like they just really wanted it, and so they dragged him, and I had a problem with that because we want him to do the thing, right? And so if we're being so aggro and if we're being so angry at him and like basically like crucifying him on the timeline, it's like, bro, we want him to do this, right? It's a good thing overall for him to do this. There's no reason to just like drag him down. And I'm not saying that like he is our savior, because let's be very clear. He's not the savior of the speedrunning community. However, he could fucking help. He can help. That's all I'm saying.
One of the things I've been thinking about as a perspective is, and in some ways we've just had a new major speedrunning event / marathon pop up for us out of thin air, and that's like huge, right? Like for a while it was GDQ, ESA, RPG Limit Break, and what's that? You hate ESA, don't you? valid. But it was.
I have an ESA shirt in
GDQ.
my closet. You want me to go get?
You still have the costume.
Caliphon for a long time too.
And that, but yeah, I mean, you could
Caliphon
argue
might
me
be
with
coming back though. Y'all see
that's
that on
cool.
Twitter? It might be coming back.
I did not see that.
I might honestly submit.
No.
We'll see though.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I wouldn't put much money on that, but so like it's GDQ at the top, and then you have like ESA, RPG Limit Break, and then RTA in Japan, were like the 4 really big
Yeah.
I would agree.
events, and then you'd have smaller things.
Couple
I'd say,
mid-tiers like
things
Midwest,
Pace,
Power of Pride.
Midwest Speedfest, Pace, Power Up Pride,
Yeah.
probably the biggest of the exclusively
mid-tiers,
online
yeah.
stuff, right?
Yeah.
And now we just have like another big event that's like on that like, I wouldn't say ESA tier. Cool. Well, maybe it is because it got a lot of viewership.
I was gonna say
He was
it might be bigger
averaging
than ESA.
around 60K. 50,
Yeah.
60K.
It
the
might
whole
be
event.
bigger than ESA.
I would say it's bigger.
Which is wild. So
Like
it's
it's not as big as GDQ, but like this is also just like the first year.
but it's a new platform, right?
Yeah.
So it's
Well,
like
he was streaming it on his Twitch account as well, Mogul Moves, because for events
And
he's
YouTube,
allowed to
yeah.
multi-stream. So I'm
Multi-stream.
These numbers are with the multi-stream. Like
yeah.
Okay.
the last
Yeah.
day he was averaging around 16 on Twitch. He was averaging around 33, 35 on YouTube. So about 50-ish, 50 to 60.
50K?
50
50 to
60K,
60K.
yeah.
And like that
Yeah.
was like swap. It kind of went back and forth, but like around 50K.
And for
is
context,
a
that's
good
like what
average.
GDQ. That's generally what GDQ does on
Yeah.
during their main event, like at slow periods. I would.
Yes,
At
like
low
GDQ,
periods, I would
like
say,
like
yeah.
at 4 a.m.
And that's
is
just
full
on
50K,
Twitch.
right? So like,
Yeah.
Ludwig was pulling their valley. Not,
Yeah.
sorry, I just had to put it like that.
Which is an interesting way to. Well, it's an interesting way
Yeah.
to think about it, right? It's interesting, but
GDQ Smurfs.
I think
peak.
we've kind of. I think we've kind of gone a little bit off topic, so just if you want
yeah,
to reel
yeah.
it.
I
So
mean, that
I
is
guess we
real
can just
thing.
get into the event itself, right?
Yeah, that is basically
Yeah.
the bow on the thing is that like I am very upset with a lot of how people react in the speedrun community because I'm of the opinion like, bro, it doesn't even matter if it was only white guys, right? And I'm fucking black, right? I don't care. Just like it's going to be a good thing regardless,
Yeah.
But on to the actual event, which I also have a couple of hot takes about, which maybe not be in the hot takes that you might think. But so he goes on, he does the event, TLDR, he announces the full schedule. You have a black person, Outrageous Josh, shouts to Josh. You have women in the event. I did not see any women speedrunning though when I tuned in. So I
did,
don't know
yeah,
any
I
of them.
tuned
Lumi Laura was.
Lumi
I
Laura?
did. I
Okay.
tuned in during Lumi Laura's. Yeah.
I did not get to see
Yeah,
that.
and well, we'll bring this up, but she had one of the most. She probably had one of the most like significant runs of the event.
Hell yeah.
Which is
Yeah.
dope. But
Hell yeah.
it was also at like ass o'clock, so it's like.
Well,
But
Also, quick dig. The event starts with fucking what's his face's run.
CJ's Mario
CJ's
Odyssey.
Mario Odyssey run starts at the race at 3 minutes of the run. It's so funny. Sorry, quick dig. It was just so funny. The first
Oh my God.
run, instantly, just like, guys, we're gonna reset. I was like, but then I don't think that happened
gonna
again in
reset.
the event. At least not from what I saw. I didn't see any like weird
I
resets
don't believe
like that.
so. No.
Yeah,
Not
everyone
at
else is
least
pretty
that I
like
saw.
we start, we go like
Pretty
traditional
on
GDQ
it,
stuff.
Yeah. So I've not been able to find a copy of the schedule again, but I can name a couple of runs off the top of my head that were like runs that I would actually go consider watching again. For one, Outrageous Josh's
Jack and Daxter.
Jack 1 run.
Killed it.
That was a killer run.
Yeah.
So good.
That was really good. Yep.
We also
killed
talked about Lumi Laura, who had a lights out Spyro 1 any percent run. I don't remember exactly what Coveless is, but it was first try, and apparently it's Omega tough or inconsistent. So Lumi Laura also she's like one of the most hyped human beings on planet Earth. So I just think it'll be a good one to rewatch. I think we can all agree that the Point Crow blindfolded Tears of the
Dude.
Kingdom is one of the highlights of the event.
I love
That was
run.
really good.
That was my favorite. run of the
That was
event.
one of the things.
That was really
don't
good.
think I watched
And
it.
Yeah,
I
and
was
I'm not
I
actually-
watched the end of it and I was pretty enthralled with it.
Dude, I was
Yeah.
actually
Pretty
at
cool.
work when this was going on, and I was pissed about it. And so when I got home, I literally rewound the YouTube VOD and I went and like watched it all the way through, just because
That's
like
crazy.
I mean, I just like Point Crow. I'm a Point
That's
Crow
fair.
fan. But also
Seems like a decent-
like he's so like just blindfolded runs are always just so sick. It's why I like watching Bubsy as well.
Yeah.
Like I'll just throw up Bubsy's Twitch sometimes, and like literally this past week I was editing and I was watching Bubsy and I like was watching him for an hour on the clock, and I was like, I should be doing work.
Yeah.
Instead of watching Bubsy route Mario, I was like, oh.
A couple other two more runs I want to point out. Super Monkey Ball 2 by Glock was also really, really good.
I wanted to see that one.
Yeah. And then I also just want to generally shout out just like the whole Zelda OOT segment. Danny B did like the classic OOT any percent. That was like the one you did like historically since like 2013, and then went and showed like the new route and like murdered the game. That was just a really good fucking showcase of the game. And that's when that
Okay.
it's no SRM. So if you miss it, it's not the end of the world if you don't catch that VOD, because Danny will be doing it at next GDQ.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like
Okay.
is what it be.
Yeah.
But
I
those are some of the
do-
highlights for me.
I do want to say a couple of things. So, kind of beginning
Have a
on
low light.
a good note here. I thought that Easy Speezy's Cuphead run, where he did co-op with Ludwig.
Oh, that was so good.
I thought that was
Yeah.
actually
I
pretty
was gonna mention
interesting
that. Yeah.
because it was
forgot about that one.
like a challenge run in a speed run.
Yeah.
And the host of the whole event kind of being involved with it, and getting people to root for him, like, oh, I need to beat Easy's sister's time, or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
And him like kind of getting to us kind of getting to see Ludwig kind of be just carried in real time. It was a very interesting run. I don't think I've seen a run like that where it's essentially just somebody playing blind, and then the speedrunner just showing off how good they are, not by just playing super clean, but by making up for the other person's
Deficit.
lack of knowledge.
And the DPS
also,
decrease.
like,
Yeah, the
during that
DPS
run,
decrease, yeah.
too, is that he was actively trying to keep Ludwig alive the whole time. Like he wasn't
Yeah.
like, you know how in Cuphead one person could die and you can keep going. Like he would try
Yeah.
to save him like every single time.
And he was like educating him on like every enemy as they went too.
Yeah.
It was really impressive for him
like,
to just
duck
be able to
here,
juggle
jump
that, as
here,
well as
stuff
be
like
able to
that.
like kind of bounce like jokes off of Ludwig and like work with him too. So I thought that was really cool. I do want to say that the remote runs that I watched, I think Lumi Laura was actually there at the event.
Yes, she was.
But like I watched some of the Titanfall 2 run and some other remote runs, and I want to say that like as cool as it is that those people got the chance to be and run at that event, it still has that problem that I think is inherent in remote runs for a mostly live
In-person.
event, which is that there's just a lack of energy, like because
and
a
also
lot of it is
delay of
drawn.
energy too.
Yeah, delay of energy.
Yeah.
Yep. And because like
Yeah.
that is an entirely vibes based event. Like it is all about the personalities that are there. And even when the person that is running has a strong presence, like they inherently just don't have as many people to bounce off of because they're just with their co-commentators and stuff. And so I think that moving forward, it might be a little bit of a hot take for me to say, but I'm not really sure if they should still allow remote runs.
I think they should
maybe
remove
like
them.
one or two, because this is such a. I think honestly, Ludwig has a huge opportunity here to set like a precedent of like this is like an elite sort of celebrity event and just fly people out.
Yeah.
Honestly, I think he has the opportunity to set that precedent, and if he does that for like a few people that couldn't otherwise make it. I mean, honestly, if he did it for all the runners and then just did it as like a tax write-off or something as an expense,
But-
itemized deduction
And,
or something.
That's something I would also give as a positive criticism of the event is that from what I heard from people who were there, who were runners, they were all taken very well care of. Like, for one, they were flown out if they were there in person.
Oh, were
But
they
they were
actually
also
flown out there?
Yeah, so like Glock
Okay.
was flown out. I know Glock was flown out.
Oh, cool. All right. Yeah.
But like they were also fed, and just I'm mostly reverting to like Glock's perspective a bit. But he was like, yeah, no, we were kind of like treated like royalty. Like we were treated really well by the production team,
Yep.
by staff, and that's really good. That's what you want to hear, right? Because they're like. It's one thing to get critical over the stuff we were talking about earlier, but if they don't treat people well, then it's not worth supporting the organization. I think that's
Yeah.
sometimes why, like, I know Nestani and me to a degree as well get frustrated with stuff like ESA sometimes, is we've kind of sometimes had some bad experiences with some of their people.
And I also just want to say, like, briefly, just touching back into like the drama, like that was actually not a part of like the thing of like if Ludwig's gonna if Ludwig's gonna tweet these speedruns, if he's gonna treat these speedruns well, that was never a like discussion point. Which I find interesting because for me it was never a question. It's a Ludwig event. Like everyone's gonna be treated very well, and that's just because I have the background of I watch a lot of Ludwig's melee events. Like he does a lot of melee events. I'm in the melee scene. Jax is somewhat in the melee scene too. Like we watch,
but I don't watch the Ludwig stuff as much. So from my point of view, I'm like, this is exceptionally well done.
Yeah, and
in
like,
this aspect,
melee players are also treated with like that same amount of like almost like royalty
respect.
and it's just like I expected that from the event, and so like it was never in my mind like a question of like it's the people, like I knew they were being treated well. Like
and probably with a little more planning, honestly, he could go that extra mile and then fly out people that otherwise wouldn't be able to make it, so then he doesn't have to worry about this.
Like virtual, for example.
The dichotomy or the disconnect of remote runs. You know,
for example, like Cheese lives in I think Spain, and the only reason Cheese was there is because Pace is this weekend. And so he just flew out early because he was coming here for Pace anyway, right? Otherwise, like I don't think Cheese would have been in the 64 relay race, for example. It would have been something different. But and so I do think that like with more planning, he will be able to probably fly out everyone if he wants to. But here's my thing and my take on this whole event. So near the end of his event, I watched like he basically did like a mini conclusion before they did the Another Crab's Treasure like world record showcase or whatever. But he was basically saying and like alluding to the fact of next year being Fast 100. And here is the double standard. I think he did tweet about it. Here's the weird thing for me. He in his first video, like when he's talking about the event and basically explaining it, he was like, I want this to be a smaller event with like a small like style type of feel similar to how GDQ used to be. And I think that doing Fast 100 next year is doing the opposite.
Not gonna be
right? He's growing it and he's not keeping it. Like honestly, I think this was perfect. I think like 3 days, boom, boom, boom. It was really good. It was tight. They didn't really have to worry about time constraints too much. From what I could tell, I did notice that like certain things got cut, and the only thing that I know got cut is Cutie's speedrun baking thing because I really wanted to see that, and I'm
that's so
ass. It didn't happen because I love Cutie Cinderella. But like that's what is concerning to me is that he's switching this to Fast 100, and that's what's concerning. Like, is he going to be able to
maintain that for a longer
is he going to be able to maintain
Yeah.
flying out 100 hours worth of speed runs like people, right? That's a lot more than just Fast 50. Like, I think like keeping it on this level is actually better than doing Fast 100. Also, you already have the branding of Fast 50. Why change it?
Yeah.
Just run it back. Like, I just think he should run it back just because I think it fits his
I don't think
original
you need to make
vision.
it 100. Right.
I think he just wants it. He wants to make it like bigger and better. Like it's just the natural progression. And I think he was just saying it because he's just like in the event and he's going, you know,
In the moment,
yeah. But I really think that he should walk that back and not do Fast 100. And if he does Fast 100, maybe that's the cap. You know, 100, like maybe like what? That's like 2 more days.
Well,
like,
and if I could, I was going to say if I can butt in
it's kind
here.
of like similar to GDQ. GDQ's like 6 days.
That's
right?
what I was going to say. Like, it's like, you know, a weekend is 3 days, right? I think you could pretty easily get away with another day or two and, like, try to maintain
But even
the
2 days is 5
level
days. And
of-
GDQ's, what, 6, 7?
It's like, no, more than that, right? It's
GDQ?
It's Sunday to Sunday.
Technically Sunday to Sunday, yeah.
Well, it's Sunday to
like
Saturday, so it's 7 days.
But it
Because
always
it's only
ends in the
Saturday night.
morning
Like a
on
week.
Sunday. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's,
Yeah, it's like,
Plus, you know, there's the whole culture
it's
of
like 7.5 days, right?
Day
for
zero.
GDQ. And
Yeah,
like that's only
basically.
2 more
Yeah.
days than 5. And I feel like you're
Yeah.
kind of treading that, you know, like I think
Yeah.
3 days is.
But
me
you could also
personally.
level that same. I feel like you could level that same criticism at like an ESA or like isn't every other speedrunning event.
Well, the
like,
thing is that they didn't say that they wanted it to be a small style event like old GDQs were, right? That's what Ludwig said he
Yeah.
wanted the event to be, was this like tight knit like
Sure.
homey vibe thing, and I don't know. I think that like if you stretch that out too much, like
But
maybe it
maybe
loses
he
that.
just-
But
it was
maybe
like,
100
oh,
is
maybe-
fine. You know?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Or,
Like,
this could also be a crazy thing, but maybe he's like, oh, well, I thought I wanted this, but now I actually want this. Maybe he's changed his mind.
yeah, and if he changes his mind, that's
yeah.
cool. I'm just talking about just of the information we know and what he has said publicly. Like it kind of like
You just
doesn't line
you
up.
see some cognitive dissonance there.
Yeah,
Some
yeah.
inconsistency. Yeah, I do think that like, I mean, Fast 50 definitely, like you said, good branding, just kind of rolls off the tongue. I mean, Fast 72 doesn't sound
Fast
nearly
Hunt
as good.
is like fine too.
Fast Hunt, it's pretty all right.
100 racks, but
he
like,
did kind of throw out like random numbers before arriving at Fast 100.
Yeah.
But he said like he is definitely doing another event. And
Yeah.
it's possible that he might leverage like the sort of like enclosed space that he has as the small event. Like maybe to him, small just means the only people there are the ones that are playing the games, and then there's a very like exclusive crowd behind them, which that was a little weird, honestly.
all those niggas have
I mean,
money, bro.
$500.
Or they used to have
And I
money.
will
They don't got money anymore.
They don't, not anymore. No, they spent just half a G, just standing behind Ludwig and his homies. Like, I will say that 500 does include like food and drink.
Yeah.
For the whole weekend, which, I mean, that's cool, but you got to offer me a little more than Red Bull. I'm hoping that like people could get drunk, like,
Yeah, I don't know.
while
like,
they're there.
Fucking like,
Honestly.
give me a blowjob or something like that. It's just like,
Dude, if people are spending like half a paycheck to go,
Jackson's giving me a thumbs down, audio listeners. He's giving me an L now, audio
Maybe
listeners.
to audio listeners. Yeah.
wait, what is this an L?
Why did it zoom in? What is happening?
cameras
You have to go like this probably. It needs to
We
zoom
have
back
a-
out, dude.
Fuck is going on? Oh, it's hand gestures.
That's cool.
I hate this
Now you
fucking
know
one.
that your camera has.
I did not know it had fucking
Interesting,
hand
like-
gestures.
Oh, that's pretty.
This sucks.
Dude,
Audio listeners, if you
your
didn't know,
camera is
Jackson's
so good.
really rich and has this high-tech webcam. Go ahead,
Dang.
Cosmic Science.
All right. So, I was gonna actually just pass it over to Cole, honestly, because I think I've kind of said my piece.
Oh, yeah, what did
I
you
thought
think
it was a
about
pretty
the
decent event, and I'm kind of looking forward to more. You know, it'd be interesting. Yeah.
I mean, I feel generally the same way. I think that this event just seems like it poorly communicated and cobbled together, but I think with what time it had and the circumstances, I think it went very well.
Very well executed.
I gotta say though, and maybe this is just because of a lot of the people who were kind of commentating, and I know we talked about commentating a little bit. I really enjoyed the commentary in this event, to some
Agreed.
extent, because here's the thing: when I saw a lot of the stuff at the beginning, and I was like, okay, I can get down with that. But then there was a time later down the line, and I don't know if it's just because Ludwig he left or what. But
Ludwig
it just
had to
changed.
sleep. It's crazy. I know.
Crazy, but they're like
Can't say it for 50 hours
changed
straight.
a
What is
lot
he, a
throughout
pussy?
the event, and at least from what I saw, I actually really enjoyed it. Yeah. Oh, my internet. I told you my internet's
Yeah.
bad. There
Yeah.
we go.
Don't worry, your recording
so-
is fine though, so you don't
Yeah.
have to acknowledge
Yeah,
that
my
ever again going forward.
That's true. Yeah,
Yep.
for sure. But I just mentioned the commentary thing because I noticed it a lot when the blindfold run happened with Point Crow, and
it's
like
so
Linkus
clean.
was there.
Yeah.
And he it was really cool to kind of there's a part at the end where like Point Crow's trying to do a trick, and Linkus is kind of explaining like how he's possibly doing it incorrectly or other stuff like this, but like he's locked in, he doesn't know.
Yeah,
Like,
'cause
you
he's
can't
deaf,
see
'cause
him,
he
you
needs
can't
to
him
hear
at
the
all.
audio.
Yeah, he's got headphones on too, and I was like, that is so cool. But I know that other runs that I didn't see, had poor commentary as well.
Yeah.
How
I have
now,
a
I
couple
didn't
notes on
watch-
commentary, by the way.
Yeah, I do as well.
Okay, yeah,
but
yeah,
go ahead and ask your
I
question.
Yeah,
have
but
a
before
pretty.
I
Cole,
switch
let's
to
let
a
Cole
different
finish
topic.
his point first.
Yeah, ask his
then,
question, and then,
yep, and then we'll
we
go.
can talk
Well-
about commentary.
Well, it's gonna go off topic of commentary.
Oh,
Yes,
okay.
that's why I bet it
Okay,
in, because I knew he was
let's keep
watching
it-
somewhere
keep it
else.
here. Yeah. Yeah.
All right,
But
yeah,
he-
Go for
here's
it,
the
for
thing
sure.
that I noticed with commentary is that like, okay, so he did say that he was going for a GDQ style event with like the smallness, right? But I didn't necessarily think that meant commentary too. Now, here's the thing. at the beginning of the event, I thought the commentary was really good. Specifically when Ludwig is around, the commentary is really good and different from traditional GDQ stuff. And that's because like the runner was talking to Ludwig, because they were talking back and forth a lot of times besides like the point car run, right? And so there was a lot of like back and forth, and sometimes the runner wouldn't even say anything and they would just riff on the couch, right? And so it was this like, and obviously since they're streamers, they're just good at yapping. That's their job, right?
Yeah, because their job is to fill space.
Yeah, and so
if they don't fill space, people leave.
Dynamic was like really good. And I saw some people not like that style of thing because they were like, it's very surface level commentary. Like they're just saying, oh wow, this is like really cool or whatever. But I think that can sort of, that specific thing can be sort of mediated. But my problem with it, before I give it to Jax, is that like later on in the event, specifically when Ludwig wasn't on the stream, because I tuned into a couple of those like early morning before I went to work, it was just a GDQ event. And I thought that was lame. And I thought that was bad. I don't think the commentary should divulge back into GDQ when Ludwig or streamer A, streamer B isn't there, right? I think there should be a more concerted effort to make this kind of different and more more leaning on the entertaining rather than being like, hey, this is like how I do the trick and like boop bop boop, wow, I did the trick. Because like as cool as that is, I don't think it's cool. As cool as that is for like GDQ or whatever, I just think that like that created two very different styles of commentary, and I much preferred the one with Ludwig riffing with the runners, even if sometimes it was a little surface level. But I think, for example, Cosmic mentioned this in the Cuphead run, flawless, right? It was just so entertaining the whole time. Part of that's due to him playing it, right? And so it creates that dynamic. But like, and I'll hand it off to Jax, but like a big part of people were being like, oh, it's just surface level. He's just like, oh, wow, it's cool. Like things you've heard 1,000 times. But the thing is that like the Ludwig's audience hasn't heard this 1,000 times, right? And he's kind of just being the chat sounding board, right? Which is his job. Yeah. But I understand why what's Jack's about to say is why he thinks that's whack.
No, well, I want to start by just admitting a little bit of bias. Is that, you know, Nestani was kind of talking about the two different sort of commentary styles. I am very much, and this is my bias, I am very much more interested in people talking about the game and what's sort of going on, because I find that really interesting. That being said, like Nestani said, like the people riffing off each other and it being a bit more casual, like that's great too, right? And like he said, there were some instances of that were really good.
And there's some really good combinations. Like the point car run was a really good combination of the two, of like information and riffing.
I was gonna highlight that too.
To me, it felt like there were, and maybe I didn't watch every single run.
Me either.
So, right. But I felt like sometimes there was, and maybe this was just because I tended to watch more of the earlier in the event stuff rather than later on. But like sometimes I felt there was a bit of friction between the two styles, where people weren't really sure how to navigate between, oh, how do I talk about what I'm doing versus how do I, because it's not that it's people shined when they were riffing or when they were doing their explanations thing. I think people were kind of struggling to figure out how to transition between the two. That's something that I picked up on.
I think that's also a byproduct of just like the previous experience, right? A lot of the previous experience of a lot of these runners, because I know a lot of these runners have been in GDQs before, is the GDQ style of commentary, which is like you on your island. There's typically not a lot of riffing in GDQ runs, besides like certain like runs, like the fucking
runs and runners,
like
and
the Ratatouille run with like AF and stuff.
With
like,
AF, which
there's certain runs that break the mold, but a lot of times it is just that like, I'm explaining this stuff to you. Maybe I'll have a couple like quick jokes here and there, but mostly it's going to be somewhat informative, or I'm not going to speak at all.
But the other thing that I want to say, and this is something that Nestani will definitely disagree with me on, is that
I'm interested. I love disagreeing.
Freaking every time, like I'm going to be hyperbolic for a second.
Hyperbolic,
but like, so this is not. I'm just trying to be funny here. It's just like every time fucking Ludwig like piped up or said something, I just want him to shut the fuck up. Holy shit. Like, there were so many times where, like, somebody was saying something interesting, and he would just randomly, like, interrupt with, like, oh, hey, we got $5 from XYZ.
I think
like,
that was the problem with everyone in the event, because even Stans was doing that, like, in the...
Stans was doing it, too,
like,
and I also wanted him to shut up.
There were so many times where, like, the donations were kind of cutting in, and, like, I get it. You want to talk about the donations, you want to read off the donations, but you, like, they need to, like, there has to be a gap where you slide in. Like,
there's a reason why like
that
other speedrunning events have hosts, right?
Yeah,
like,
they have hosts, they have people that butt in or whatever. But my thing is, I think, here's my hot topic. I don't think the event needs to have a charity thing at all. Like,
that's totally
charity's
fair.
Cool, but
Yeah, I
like
think that's fair.
For like the riffing vibe, it's better if you're just not reading donations. Just period, right?
Show us cool shit.
I get that, like, you know, I get that you want to read donations. However, I think that they were like, I feel like they were overcorrecting, because I felt like they felt like we were going to get really mad at them if they didn't read enough donations, right? And so I feel like there was like a background consolidated effort to do it more, and that led to what Jax was talking about with people cutting off other people when like things were happening, and that did happen a lot. I completely forgot about that, but yeah, I totally agree with that actually.
Well, and, you know, again, with my personal bias is, like, sometimes I felt like the interruptions, maybe it was just a coincidence of the ones that I noticed, where it was like someone was about to explain something interesting and then, like, something superfluous gets brought up, right?
Yeah.
I tend, like, you know, you were mentioning, like, comments about being surface level. I think you were kind of downplaying a little bit how sometimes some of the things like Ludwig and Stans were saying were pretty surface level. I think if you're in a Stans or a Ludwig situation...
Like, what are you going to say?
Like, well, no, you ask questions, right? Like, let's take my Pumpkin Jack run, for example.
But also, I just want to say quickly...
I don't get to talk to you, do I?
Yeah, you don't. What questions are they going to ask, right? Because they're very far removed from speedrunning. Like, they probably don't even know what style of questions to ask, just as a quick rebuttal before you go. But, like, that also might be a thing where it's, like, skill issue.
Yeah, I think it's a skill issue. And and what I would say is, you know, if you're in a GDQ style situation, you do what Brian Otto did, where you, like, ask questions from the perspective of, okay, here's what an audience member would think, right? Mm-hmm. But when you're in a marathon like this, where it's more about riffing and the social connection, right? Like, I would want to hear, like, someone like Ludwig talk to Runner about, like, hey, why did you pick this game up? Like, what is your story? I want to hear more about your narrative.
Yeah, that's true.
Right?
I would agree
because,
with
like, even if, like, let's say everything in the run's been explained, like, that doesn't mean that, like, you know, we talk about it being about entertainment and about, you know, celebrities and people, right? So it's like, well, we have these people right in front of us and they seem really interesting. And I would love to hear more about them, right? Like, that was something that I think was done pretty well, like, during Josh's run, for example, where he was kind of talking a little bit about, you know, how he kind of got into things. And then when his girlfriend, Kana, was on the couch, like, Ludwig asked her, like, oh, how did you get into speedrunning? Like, what's your, you know, how long have you been playing this game? Like, you know, stuff like that is also really interesting. And there were moments where, like, you know, Ludwig and Stans were doing a good, like, I'm just pointing those two out as an example. But, like, there were moments where they were doing that really well. And then there were moments where they weren't. And I really wish there was, like, more. I think that's I think it
more
showcases
like
an interesting
to do that, you know.
Right. And it also shows an interesting blind spot that maybe we haven't been considering as people who do marathon runs, is, like, talking a little bit, like, you know, talking about the game is important, obviously, because if it's like,
but also,
you don't
like,
understand what's
why
going on.
am I here? And let's make this about me a little bit, guys. You know, like,
or just talk about, like, you know, like, we're also humans, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
Yeah, true.
we just riff and tell a funny story, or just, like, a memory. Like, it doesn't have to be about you. It could be like, oh, I remember, like, when the XYZ got discovered. Like, you know, let's you know, I'm gonna go to Scooby Night of 100 Frights, because 3 of the people in this call have run this game.
Yeah,
let's say we're talking about something like
Coley, Jax, and Cosmic. Those are the 3 Scooby Night of 100 Frights runners.
Very funny. But let's say, you know, Fishy Skip, for example. It's like we can very quickly explain how Fishy Skip works. But then we can it would also be interesting to talk about, me and XYZ stayed up for fucking hours messing around with this and laughing this, and XYZ thing happened and it was really funny. I'm just riffing. I don't quite remember all the details because I was incognito during that era, right? But like, you understand what I'm saying? I feel like in a way, and to this event's credit, I think it puts a bit more into focus, like a new lane that we can choose to take.
Yeah.
In a way that
I agree.
Yeah.
I think it introduced
Honestly,
a lot of that, which is
don't-
why I thought, like, with my, like, the two different styles, like, I just think that they should focus on the riffing style more because it's just different from everything else,
I want to see
yeah.
GDQ do more of that riffing style, and I don't want Fast 50 to be afraid of having the more GDQ style. That's the way I'll put it. I think both is good.
Yeah.
I
in
honestly
moderation.
am kind of surprised that we're just kind of talking about this sort of commentary with speedrunning, because like in terms of like a video format, like speedrunning content, like Summoning Salt immediately comes to mind because that's like the big, like, oh my god, he posted
But what do you know
another
about him?
video.
Hashtag ad, hashtag sponsor.
True.
Listen, I have a
Go
hot
ahead.
take where I think Summoning Salt fallen off. I used to like his initial videos, and now I just think they're whatever. But anyway,
Yo, tell me.
but I mean,
Somebody saw.
videos
I don't
like
think that,
though,
if you
'cause
ever want to make a
everybody-
video about any of the games that I run, I'm down.
Yeah,
Let's
we'll
run it.
help you
Let's
out.
run it.
Okay, honestly, if you come to me, listen, if you come to me talking about Scooby, I'll give you everything I got.
Yeah.
Give us your money.
You name a price, bro. Like, shit. Anyway, but no, but you always see speedrunning content where it's always like 80% history, and it's like the whole thing is that it feels more like a story than just like you reading like rambling facts. And I
Reading
think
a
that's
paste bin
what
about
gets
the
people
game,
really. Yeah,
Right.
yeah. I mean, there's information sprinkled in there, but then there's also like, there's like a motive and a drive, and so. Yeah, for some reason that just clicked with me. It was like, why haven't we been doing that with speedrun commentaries? Like, why now are we kind of sort of realizing like, oh, maybe we could have this mixture a little bit? Because again, like listing off the important details of how tricks work and things like that in the game, that's important. That adds a lot of interest, and a lot of people, including myself, think that's fascinating. But I feel like with GDQ events, and maybe this is the reason why I don't really watch GDQ.
I also don't watch them either.
Is because of this other side where it's like, I would love to see the story, because I think also that's what makes like not very popular games so much more interesting.
Yeah.
Because like
It
you
helps
can
you
just
stick.
see Mario 64. Yeah, I mean you could just see like people run Mario 64 and it's like, oh man, would you grow up with this game? Never heard that one before. But like with this random niche game that's just like out there in the universe, and like you just have this special connection with it. Like that's one of the great things about speedrunning, is that it can be a deeply personal and unique, and like I've lost my train of thought. Damn.
No,
Beautiful.
I get
You
what you're
get-
saying.
yeah,
Like,
you get my
like
point.
going
Yeah.
more for the mixture rather than just like raw information based, which is like notoriously my biggest problem with GDQ is that a lot of it is just information blast. And what I try to do on everything that I've ever done on GDQ's channel and whatnot is try to bring a lot of the other side. Specifically recently, I feel like I also fell into the trap near the beginning, but that's mainly just because I didn't really know what I was doing, right? I saw
Yeah.
Jax and I was like,
Well,
that
it takes
guy
practice.
knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
I'm going to
Yeah.
copy him word for word, bar for bar. And now
But it's
I'm
like-
kind of building myself into something different where I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm going to do something different. Like, for example, like, I'm going to briefly touch on this and then I'll let Jax launch. Like, I watched Fire Emblem run at GDQ, and, like, a lot of it was, like, just very information-based, whatever-based, and just facts. And I was just like, dude, this could be so much cooler. You could
More
have
interesting.
more layers in it. And, like, I am running a Fire Emblem game at this next up GDQ, and that's what I'm going to try to bring is more of
Yeah.
that style. Like, I'm obviously going to have a bunch of the information stuff because you just have to, but like that is like my goal with it, is to like break that mold and meet in the middle a little bit where there's like some riffing
Yeah.
and there's not just all information blasts. Go ahead.
And that's the interesting thing, right? Is the metaphor. I'm going to use a melee metaphor here. The
Battle for King
better.
Bomb is the melee of speedrunning.
No, that's not where I'm going with this. Although I'm glad you know that. I am very glad you know that reference. But here's my thing though. when you're starting out with commentary, I feel like people tend to all kind of take the same approach where, like you said, you copy the way someone else does it, right? And in Smash, it's kind of the same way. Like, you see every beginner Marth tries to do what Zane does.
They try to edge
right?
cancel.
Or you see, yeah, exactly, right? Or you see every Falco.
Sorry.
You know, for a while it was every Falco tried to be Mango, and then every Falco tried to be West Balls. Now every Falco's trying to be Mango again. But it's like, it's once. But here's the thing, right? Is like, as like your competency and your ability to express yourself improves, you transition into a different, play style, right? Like, there's a very big difference in the way that Mango plays versus the way that someone like
Ginger,
even Magi, Ginger's probably the biggest example, or like Fiction, right?
Don't mention
like
that.
there's a big difference between the way Cody Schwab plays and the way that Mookie plays Fox, right?
I'm schwabbing.
I mean, even Marth-wise, like Zane versus Kadoran are like, it's like I wouldn't say two totally different characters, but it's like you
can see
it's
who's
a different
playing the character, right? Like if you watch
Right.
Melee, if you know Melee, you can look at just a character, no name tab, no nothing, see how they move, and you can probably guess the player, like if you've watched enough,
And here's the thing, right? Is like all these people with same characters, different styles, they still succeed. They still win tournaments. They're still like top 10, top whatever players for a reason, right? And I feel like commentary is the same way, right? Where once you've really practiced it and you've gotten comfortable and have that confidence, like then you can really start to experiment. Like Nestani said, I'm really good at that like informative breakdown stuff, and also trying to get across why the thing is cool, right? Where like at least that's what I try to achieve. But like, and then you have Nestani talking about his goals, right? Where it's just like, I see it as a similar type of process, but that might just be a bit of a tangent. So I apologize.
No, you're good.
Yeah,
I think it's.
I'm
it's a
very
valid
interested in
bow on the commentary.
yeah.
I
I just love talking about speedrunning commentary. I just think it's super interesting.
It's pretty dope.
Were you about to say something, Cole?
So I was just gonna try and segue it to.
I was about to
think the
segue
last
it
thing we
too.
wanted to talk about it.
Yeah.
Then go ahead.
Alrighty. And then the last piece, we're probably not going to talk about this too much because we're all kind of echo chambering ourselves here a little bit.
Yeah.
Just full thing. So Charlie, or most critical, because I guess some people don't know him as Charlie. I'm looking at Cosmic because I said Charlie and he was like, who the heck is that? And I was like, valid point. Well, you didn't know Charlie the name when I just said Charlie that one time. You were like, and I said Moist Critical, and you're like, oh.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So we're talking about Moist Critical's event. Well, not event. Well, I guess it's kind of an event. Anyway, he does like a speedrun bounty. He puts
Challenge,
up he puts up basically like 10K as like whoever has a record at the end gets like 5K, and then it tiers down to like the top 15, right? And so basically, if you run the game and you get top 15, you either get $100 or more, which is a tight deal, sick deal, really cool. I think it's a good idea in general. And I just think a lot of the games that he chooses are kind of whack, but in his defense, they have to be because, or not have to be, but a lot of them, like, he wants it to have a blank slate so that like everyone starts on equal footing, right? That's the kind of idea. And so what happened is that another Scrab Treasure is the game that he chose this time, and there is restricted and unrestricted. Now, restricted was ran a good amount, like already. There was probably like 10 to 15 runs on the board before the challenge got announced. But the challenge was for unrestricted, which there were 3 runs for, and they were like highly unoptimized. TLDR, what happens is that the speedrun community finds a glitch that basically you could just like fly over the level. Right, that's all you need to know about it. Yeah, and you like completely break the game. It's really cool, but you completely break the game wide open, right? And hence the name Unrestricted. You're allowed to do that because the game is unrestricted. And then the dev tweets out, "Hey, Moist Critical Charlie, I want to give you $5,000, and if I give you $5,000 on the pot, will you change it to restricted?" This is like a week into the thing, by the way.
What?
Like a week into the thing, we changed categories back to restricted because the dev threw a tissy over it because the dev was like, "This is so not cool because like you're just skipping like all the game," which is the cool part. Anyway, sorry.
Yeah, and the rough part too is people had already started learning.
People had already started learning, and they've already started putting time into it.
Yeah, that's
and then it gets changed, and like cool that like they added 5,000 onto the pot, but like I said this on Twitter, rare Nestani tweet. I don't tweet much, but like I said this on Twitter where I was like I personally was interested in picking up this challenge, right? But then that happened, and I was like, man, am I glad I'm not doing it anymore? Because like the chances of a non-previous world record holder getting the record and restrict it, which is an already ran category, is like relatively low. Now I think it happened. Like I don't think the current world record holder.
Spicy won the whole.
Spicy won the whole thing.
Yeah, and he was the record holder.
Spicy was before?
Yes. For both.
I just lied on the internet. So my point is even more valid.
Spicy
is just the person who was already running the game and already like obviously like you could be like, well, Spicy probably would have gotten the unrestricted one. Maybe not, right? You don't know. But like
the fact pretty cracked, so
yeah.
Maybe.
But the fact is that he was already the world record holder and already ran it like a lot.
Yeah.
Previously, and then it kind of just fell into his lap, and I just thought that was whack because I'm just like, if that like, I just feel like intrinsically, just changing categories in general is bad to do mid challenge because everyone's put on this time that they could have just put into something else, which reduces competitive integrity. And then it's just exemplified by switching it to a category that this other guy has already ran for a bunch of time, right?
And a lot of other people have.
And so this whole week that everyone else, I don't think it was a week, it was like a couple days, but this whole couple days that everyone else is grinding this other thing, they could have been using those couple days for this, right? And so it puts them even further behind than they already were. And I think we're all pretty much in agreement that we thought this shit was whack. Like, I think 5K, like, I don't care about the 5K. I'd rather have the competitive integrity, me personally.
I agree.
Yeah. I mean, my hot take in general, honestly, is that I think that speedrunners need to understand that having a dev involved in your speedrun community is not inherently good. I think this is something that people have tried. This is a narrative that people have tried for a while to push, that, you know, oh, we want dev support. We're so glad that the dev supports the speedrun community. I will be honest, unless I have heavily vetted this dev and talked to them and understand that they are kind of on the same page as me, the one that springs to mind first is the Sprawl dev. If you go and watch last GDQ, so I guess it would be SGDQ, AGDQ 2024.
Yeah.
If you go and watch the Sprawl run by Blood Thunder, that dev that's on that couch is a prime example of a dev that you want to be in speedrunning, because he has watched speedrunning events, he's loved GDQ for like 10 years, and he was fucking stoked to have his game there. He saw Blood Thunder fly over an entire map that he probably spent days or months working on and went, that's fucking insane.
Yeah.
Like, that is the type of person that you want there. But
a lot of people aren't.
The reality is that the most people are not like that. Most devs see speedrunners as marketing and as QA testers. Like
that's the big one. That's the big one. We're not free. We are not free QA.
I'm going to go on the marketing tangent, though, because this is something that I actually have experience with myself, which is Stranger of Paradise. So Stranger of Paradise is a game by Team Ninja. It's a spin-off of the Final Fantasy series. Follows more of the Neo Souls-like sort of style for games. And when that game started, the Twitter account for that tweeted out like, oh, here's a speedrunning challenge. And then they put up some like weird categories for people to run and then put times up or whatever. And I tweeted at them a couple of times like, hey, you're patching the game. Can we at least have access to previous patches? Like, because you're changing stuff that we might have to, like, you know, we might have to consolidate categories, or we might have to archive stuff or whatever. And I didn't get any responses to that. I did get, because it's, you know, it's a big Square Enix Twitter. You know, we did just get more tweets about this weird niche speedrunning thing like that they were doing for marketing purposes, and then they didn't talk about speedrunning after that challenge was over. The thing that they advertised as the prize as well was not even true to what they advertised. They were just doing it for extra traction on the game to get more people to play it on Twitch, you know, like after their first playthrough. And the game's good on its own merits. It's an interesting speedrun, you know, and it was very strange for me to see that just so blatantly, like, trying to take advantage of hobbyism. It's
Don't even get me started
strange.
on the Prince of Persia challenge. Y'all remember that one?
Oh, yeah. I mean, the Prince of Persia challenge is another marketing thing and another QA tester thing, but I wanted
That
to
could be another
specifically
episode.
touch. Yeah, I wanted to specifically touch on marketing because I think that the QA angle is used a lot. And, you know, as I get deeper and deeper into my 30s, basically.
Yeah, this guy's old, by the way, everyone.
You know,
Fucking
I'm
fossil.
almost so. I'm not going to go into the biggest, like, you know, how young the youngest person on this podcast is compared to me.
Cole is 12 years old.
Like, I don't know about all that, but anyway,
Reversed.
so reverse, true. That was clean. Anyway, so
Scratch that. Reverse it. Sorry.
Guys, we gotta end the podcast at some point tonight.
yeah, it's true. Yeah. So it's very irritating for me to, especially because as like somebody that ends up moderating a lot of boards, because I don't usually trust other people to deal with the games that I like.
Cosmic has trust issues, guys.
Good. I mean, that's true too, but that's unrelated to what we're talking about.
Oh, sorry.
currently.
My bad.
That could be a whole other episode as well. But
Welcome to the Trust Issues podcast.
yeah, I'm seeing the wrap it up, Jax. Don't worry.
No, you're good.
I got my banner up here that says wrap it up too, so it's a constant reminder to myself.
Looking like me, freaking Paxies with the Vex run. Just Hobbs in the back of the seat, just like, all right, we gotta wrap it.
We gotta wrap it up. So
Tragic.
it's very irritating for me for people to desire this from, you know, like devs, for not only for speedrunners but also for fighting games, for people to constantly just want attention and validation from, you know, a person who theoretically or hypothetically speaking, your relationship with that company is done once you've purchased the game, you know, and from there it's to do what you want with it. Yeah. So I honestly think that these speedrun challenges are whack. I think it's totally just artificial activity on a board for a fixed amount of time, and he chooses shit games because he gets paid for it too. So it's not just because he wants blank slate stuff. I think that's probably true too, but he also gets paid to promote these games by these devs that
Make shitty
just
games.
don't make shitty games. Like I hate to down on somebody that's clearly learning, you know, in the process of making games, but it's really weird to me, and I really don't like it. And it's doubly whack now that we've had a dev directly interfere with the results of the competition.
Yeah.
Which I think,
So-
like, the last thing before we wrap, I just wanted to wrap back onto Cosmic just with a statement, basically, is that, like, I feel like a lot of people have just, like, been, like, they see Sprawl, the dev, or they see Celeste's dev. I think Celeste is
Frog
the
Monster.
number one, like, culprit of what a lot of people know, where they're like, oh, having dev support
Although,
is so
let me
sick.
catch you on something real quick. They patched some shit in the middle of a tournament, and then
GG.
all of that shit just never happened again. Like, that's just never mentioned again, the stuff that they patched.
Yeah, but, like, I don't know everything about
So,
Celeste.
yeah.
I just know that, generally speaking, the dev at one point was seen as, like, this very, like, cool figure. Because,
Generally, they are, yes.
yeah, right? And it's just, like, I feel like everyone saw that and they're like, dude, it would be so sick to have dev support. And I just, like, I completely agree with Cosmic, where, like, most of the time, devs just don't give a shit, because most of them don't actually like speedrunning. I think it's a very, like, few, like, for example, DK, like, the dev of Lunistus, a game that I run,
He's a
generally,
speedrunner.
like, he's a speedrunner. He's generally really, really cool. But even then, like, sometimes I wish that he wasn't so in tune, or maybe he was more in tune than he is, because I disagree with some of his decisions, which we don't have to talk about. But, like, you know, there's a lot of give and take, and, like, I just generally think, and I'm pretty sure Cosmic would agree, generally the negatives outweigh the positives almost all the time when a dev is, like, super looking at your speedrun game. Jax
it's a
has
risk.
had, you know, experience with that with P letters, as I like to say. Yeah, P letters. But
That sounds racist.
yeah, P letter. Anyway, but that's basically that. We can maybe talk more about dev stuff in another episode, but this will be the conclusion to the Even Nobody Asked podcast. We're going to do some extended shout outs here, just a little bit for the first episode. We're not going to do this every podcast. Don't worry. We're going to shut the fuck up. But my name is Nestani. I'm Nestani literally everywhere. If you look up Nestani speedrunning on Google, I will be the only thing you will see. I pretty much stream on Twitch around 5 to 6 days a week, probably 5 now that I'm doing this podcast. So I'm pretty consistent. I'm going to be running Fire Emblem The Sacred Stones up at this next up SGDQ 2024. So that will be hype. I do a lot of, I don't do a lot of YouTube. I do some YouTube content. I want to do more YouTube content. We'll see if that happens. Smile. But yeah, my tags on all social medias is Nestani SR. My Twitch specifically is Nestani. It's the only thing that's there. And yeah, those are my shoutsies. Cole, have fun.
Okay, my shoutsies are...
this guy's a really popular YouTuber, by the way.
Yeah, I'm very... if you look up Coley, Coley, and Scooby, then you'll find me. Not to brag... Well...
250K on a video.
Tread carefully.
Well, no.
He has more views on his channel than we all do combined.
No, wait. I wanted to more so highlight. I might actually. This is not true. I was gonna say I had the most views on a Scooby-Doo Night of 100 Frights related video of all time. That's not true. People post the casual gameplay and it has like a million views.
Yeah. I mean.
But anyway. Yeah, so I have that YouTube. I also stream on twitch.tv/.
He streams his editing of the Dog Island video.
I've just been doing a lot of editing streams lately. I'm honestly, don't even follow it, dude. I'm a terrible streamer.
Hey, not as bad as Cosmic. At some point, I mean, you stream more than Cosmic sometimes.
Speaking of which...
Hey, all right. My last week, I had allergy problems. I couldn't stream.
Hey, you streamed 2 days back to back.
I did, yeah.
That was crazy.
Absolutely. It would have been 3 back to back if we didn't record this today. But, so, were you passing the baton, or are you good?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you can find me pretty much out in most places. Twitter, Twitch, and YouTube at DECosmic. YouTube is actually at DECosmic Runs. I just lied there. That's fine. And
you just
can find me on Discord as well at DECosmic. So I think that's really
don't find me on Discord
for me. I stream
please
semi-consistently on twitch.tv/DECosmic. I've been trying to do more of that. I've been trying to kind of get back into the grind of some speedruns. I have some like Gen 6 OG Xbox runs that I want to do, like Otogi or Gun Valkyrie. I'm
Otogi,
also
please.
going to be hopefully running DSC 5 on backup for SGDQ 2024. And
someone
that'll be cool.
drop the run, please. Please.
All right,
Jax,
and
then last and certainly least, if you want to check out what I do, I mostly stream at twitch.tv/Jaxler1, just grinding PB attempts of all sorts of different games. I also have like. I'm gonna kill you with hammers. You can also I'm on Twitter at JaxlerSR. Sometimes I'm funny, and then I also have VODs for all of the runs I do on my YouTube. It's just Jaxler on YouTube, and then I have a bunch of tutorials there. So if you find a game that I run and you're looking for help on it, I might have some info there for you too, or just reach out to me in DMs, and that's cool too.
Shouts to the Neopets tutorial.
Yeah, shouts to the Neopets tutorial, which I have like 3 copies of. But yeah, also follow ETNAPodcast socials as well. Give us your money.
True.
Where can they actually find us?
Give us your money.
Where can they find this podcast at Nestani?
ETNA podcast, literally everywhere. We have the handle everywhere. You can check us out there. In terms of having audio only platforms, we will try to have that up and running in the next couple of weeks. I have not set that up as of yet because I don't really know how to. So we're going to get that sorted eventually. But for now, YouTube is the best way to find this. And yeah, that's just the end of the podcast. Be sure to like and smash that subscribe button and like the video. And we'll see you guys next time.
Yeah. Gaming.